Yeah, hi peeps, it's Tersse back in old squat box once again, and tonight I'm going to be talking a little bit more about international politics. I think this thing with Russia, it could go a whole bad way if Putin isn't willing to listen to not just Obama but what the Europeans are saying. I think Putin's missing the whole point. I mean, he might be, in a bit of a tersse because he wants to expand the sort of influence of Russia back into a larger state. But I think he's missing the whole fucking point here. I mean, that idea of Russia dominating, Eastern Europe, it's gone. It's done. It doesn't exist anymore. It's just never going to happen anymore, And he may be arguing with Obama mostly at the moment, but Obama is in a sticky situation as well. I mean, he's got a crazy Republican Party that runs the House in Washington, and they're never going to let him just negotiate away Russia's expansion. And then you've got the Europeans. The Europeans have been asleep for most of the last sort of 30-40 years. They thought that war in Europe was done with, But Putin's bringing that idea back. There could be war in Europe starting in the east rather than, in the central belt of Europe. And Europe doesn't want to see that. They don't want to see a war. But I tell you, if Putin invades the Ukraine, a lot of the other Eastern European nations who have already, made alliances with, Central Europe, they're going to feel fear of invasion from Russia. They're going to ask Europe to step up. And America is going to have to come into it as well, because America knows that they can't let Putin just annex any parts of any countries he wants because he feels like it in order to make him look good in Russia. And he's also got to remember that we have got a huge battle, a financial battle more than a military battle, with China coming up in the next 50 to 80 years. And if we weaken ourselves, we fight with each other, the Russians, the Europeans and America, we're not going to be in a fit state to deal with that onslaught that's going to come from China over the next 50 or 80 years, because I tell you, that's certainly what's going to happen. Besides that, we've got the new growing economies of India, Africa and South America. We're going to have to deal with them muscling in and trying to capture our trade, and that's going to affect our financial systems. You've got to remember as well, a lot of the rare resources that we dig up, we've dug them all up in North America, we've dug them all up in Europe. We're finding these rare resources now in South America, Africa and India, and if we don't have access to those resources, if China buys them all up, that's why I'm saying it's going to be more a financial war between America, Europe and Russia. Well, that'll be us just totally cut out the loop, There is rare resources in these areas of the world which don't exist anymore in the northern part of the world. Russia needs to rein in its fucking horns and understand that it shouldn't be fighting Europe and North America. It should actually be trying to become more of a partner. It really should be trying to become more of a partner. And Putin needs to get his state in order. He needs to crush the black markets and the gang-run national syndicates. I mean, it's a bit like America had to do the same thing when it was almost overrun at one point by the Italian mafia and stuff like that, and they're fighting against the Mexican mafia, trying to move in the Colombian mafia. Yeah, Russia needs to fight against its mafia, because there's all kinds of gangs that run all kinds of things in Russia. Putin needs to crush that. He needs to use his security forces to crush that and become a democratic nation. They're almost democratic as it is. But Russia needs to become more democratic. They need to educate their nation into the ways of the elections, voting for people who you believe in, and a free press that can check up and find information and print it. They need to be coming round and going down that route. It looks bad to me because it looks like the Russian mentality doesn't suit that view of the world. But they could understand it. They could become a proper Western nation. Putin could very well be the guy that does it, but I think he needs to be motivated in the right way. And I've got to say, I think the Western nations, the Europeans and the North Americans, America, USA, we've been treating Russia badly because we do know that they are scrimping for warm water ports. I think Obama and Europe could intervene, get Russia to help us sort out the problem in Syria, with a guarantee that they would keep a warm water port in Syria. We would intervene with the government that takes over from the wanker that's there, and guarantee him, 100 years of a warm water port in Syria, And we could do the same with the Ukraine. If they withdraw their troops, we will talk with the Ukrainian government, we will Europe and North America and the USA would intervene and explain to the Ukrainians that the deal is that they have access to a warm water port, you know what I mean? And that, I think that would be the security that Russia would, because that's what they need. Like all nations that trade, they need to have warm water ports. They also need to have those warm water ports for access to refuel their submarines and their ships and their military ships. But then, by doing something like that for Russia, you could then say to them, we're willing to introduce you and bring you in as a partner in NATO. And they could become part of NATO. They could then use their ships in the warm waters of Somalia and stuff like that to ensure our shipping lanes. So there's benefits for us and benefits for them, and I think that's what diplomacy is about. Russia feels like it's been shrank and contained, and I think we need, in Europe and in North America, USA, we need to start letting Russia know that if you're willing to play the game with us, you can be our partner, and we will trust you. We will help you to have the things that you need, so long as you participate in the policing of the world. As long as you do no longer feel that you need to defend North Korea and Iran. You can be a trading partner around the world, compete with us on a level basis. You can have your own water ports, you can help us police the world, stop pirates jumping freight ships around the world, and become a full partner, a full authenticated Western nation, northern Western nation, because it's all these Western nations, but all in the northern hemisphere, so and so is Russia. Russia is in the northern hemisphere. Why doesn't Russia play ball with us? Because we've treated, to be honest with you, we've treated Russia badly. We've treated them as enemies since fucking 1912, I think it was, you know. And I think we need to start working from the point of view of quid pro quo. Give you a bit, you give us a bit, you stand by the treaties you signed, and we'll help you out. You need to have more dialogue with Putin, I think. But if I was Obama, that's what I would be putting to him. I would mention to my European friends, can we guarantee Russia a port in Syria, a port in the Ukraine, the Crimea, and perhaps even say to them that we will give you access to, say, some of the shipping ports, the British shipping ports, German shipping ports, where you can come in, you can refuel, and load in food and stuff, give them a berth in some of the southern Mediterranean ports, I think that would be a way to alleviate their fears that we're trying to shut them out of the world. Let's invite them in. Let's invite them in as a partner. That's just my view. I've mentioned this in other videos, that I think we treat Russia badly because of our ancient history. And I don't know if this is what Putin's trying to do. He's pushing, hoping that through some kind of diplomatic negotiation he can get the things that I'm suggesting he should be offering. The problem that I get with my government and other European government and the American government is I never see that olive branch offered to Russia. The help for them to have these warm water ports, which they desperately need to have because of their their global position. Most of the ports on the northern border are locked in ice for like 6-8 months of the year, so they need warm water ports. It could be the key to open up Russia for the rest of the world, and for Russia open up the rest of the world for Russia. Anyway, I think I've tried to explain what I think, what I'm saying. I don't believe the Russian people are evil. I don't believe that the Russian government is evil. I think that, like any country, just try to do the best that they think they can do for their country and their people. Going back with the old mentality of how they've been treated for the last 100 years, by the West, by Europe and America. So it's going to take a lot of work, but I think it could be done somewhere along the lines of what I've expressed in this video. I'm just wondering what you think, Anyway, so on your phone there, motherfuckers. Here's another thing. You think that George W. Bush was a nicer person than Putin? I think they're the same. Maybe Putin's looked better on the horse when they shot one. I don't know. What do you think? So on you fucking motherfuckers.